Mic check. Mic check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Good. All right. Before I start, a couple of things here. This is a great looking audience, so I got to take a picture of y'all. All right. Now, as Marquise was speaking, I couldn't help but admire that young man. And something that came to mind was a song that my son, who's 10, he was singing around our house not too long ago. Now, I like the song. Turns out it was older than 3 months, so that made it old school by today's standards. But that song was something like this, and you guys may have heard it. But he said, I wish that I could be like the cool kids. Because the cool kids, they seem to what? Fit in. He said, I wish that I could be like the cool kids. Like the cool kids. Right? Let me explain something. See Marquise up here? I believe that it's time to change what our image of cool is. That is cool. Seeing all these young faces in here today, competing, applying themselves for scholarships, up here getting laptops, posing with girls and stuff. Right? That's cool. All right? Now real quick, I want my students to raise your hand. All the students, not my students, the students, just raise your hand so I can see where they are. Okay? Let's give it up for them. Yeah. It really takes a lot to impress me. But I'm going to tell you something. Seeing all these young faces in here early in the morning, right? Getting up out of bed, doing the work that they need to do in order to get where they want to be in life, that's impressive. Because here's what I know. They could be at home, this with all the educators, which some of you know as well. They could be at home right now, sleep, or eating Fruit Loops, right? Or if they live in my house, they'd be eating fruit rings. Because I don't buy Fruit Loops. Now, where are my educators at? Raise your hand. Even parents. Okay? Just real quick, all of the educators and parents, look at one of the students sitting next to you and say, I'm glad you made it. Thank you. Now, here's the other side of that coin. All of these educators that are here today, they're here on their day off, right? They can be at home eating fruit rings too. But they're here, and they're here to support you and encourage you. So students, I want you to look at an adult, someone who has supported you, a teacher or a parent that's sitting next to you, and repeat after me. Thank you. Thank you. I see it. Make some noise. Class of what? 100. Where are my seniors? We're in class of what, my seniors? 2015, all right. You know, I think about my high school battle cry. Yeah, I think I remember like it was yesterday. Class of 1990, whoop whoop. That sounds a lot better than 1989. But I have a senior in my house, and this is my oldest daughter right here. She's a senior at Regis Jesuit High School. It's an all-girls high school. And so she's going to be graduating this year. And as a parent, now with a daughter who is about to graduate high school, I started to kind of think about all of the times that we've had together. I'm sure for you seniors, some of your parents are probably thinking about this too. When we really get down to it, we really think about it, that time that we have with you guys, it's not really 18 years, but it's more like 18 summers. And it goes by way too quickly. Now I was sitting down with my wife and I was thinking about something recently, and something dawned on me. And what dawned on me is this. During the school year, this is for the educators, during the school year, our children spend more time with you in your classrooms than than they spend with us. None of you probably thinking, none of you already knew that. Right? But I didn't dawn on me right away. But here's what that means to me. What that means to me is, next to their parents, you're the most influential and important people in their lives. That's deep. But it gets deeper than that. Because there's a certain number of students that live in broken homes that have never had someone look them in the face and say, you can do this. I got your back. There's a certain number of students that have never had someone look at them and say, I believe in you. For that group of students, you are the most important and influential people in their lives. Now here's how important you are to the kids in my life. That's my 10-year-old son right there. Now my wife and I, we used to be the smartest people at my son that he knew, right? We used to be. Then he started school, and the smartest person became Miss Johnson, right? All of a sudden, we're the dumbest people that we didn't know anything. He and I used to watch, well, we still do, but we watch National Geographic. And he'd look at me and say, Daddy, what kind of animal is that? I said, son, that's a platypus. The only egg-laying mammal in the entire world. I put a little emphasis on it so I seem smarter than I am. I let the son say, for real, Daddy? I said, yes, son. He said, Daddy, you sure are smart. Thank you, son. Next time I know Papa, he said, Daddy, well, what is that one? I said, son, that's a whale shark. The largest mammal in the entire ocean. He said, for real, Dad? I said, yes, son. Daddy, you sure are smart. Thank you, son. But then something changed. He started school. Right? We're sitting there watching our favorite show, National Geographic. Dad, what is that? Son, that's a beluga whale. He jumped up with his brand new iPod, took a picture of it. I said, what you doing? I'm going to show this to Miss Johnson. But what that tells me, what that showed me is the influence that you as educators have had on my children and continue to have on a number of different children. Many of them are in this room today. So I want to ask a question. How many educators have been teaching 1 to 3 years? 3 to 5? 5 to 10? Sounds somebody going to prison. 5 to 10? 15 to 20? Wow. Over 20? Oh, man. Over 25? Y'all gonna give me the big one like Crazy Santa. Let's give it up. Now, I'm going to ask you to think about something real quick. I believe the question I want to ask is, why did you choose this profession? Why did you choose this profession? The next question is, because I believe that it's important that we ask ourselves, we have to remember our why. Why did we get into this? Why did we choose the business of trying to change lives? Now, I would like to ask the young lady here that raised her hand, says she's been teaching for the longest, if you don't mind. Would you mind standing up and telling us why you chose this profession?
I had been a social worker initially, and then I had my own, the first 2 of my 3 children, became a stay-at-home mom, started going up to their school, became mesmerized with how young children learn, and thought, why don't I ever go back to anything else? Went back and got a degree in education, 1973.
Wow. I feel like I know something about you, even though I've never met many of you. I haven't been creeping on your Facebooks. But what I know about you, from what I've heard up here today from Portia, is that many of you chose this profession because you want to make an impact. You want to make a difference. I don't imagine that any of you were sitting at home thinking to yourself years ago, in 1970, thinking to yourself, you know, I sure would like to drive a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW. I wonder what profession I could get into where I could get into that nice ride the quickest. I don't think you thought that and you thought, you know what? I'll go into education. We know it didn't really go down that way. What I know about you, what I feel like to say about you is this. Many of you chose this profession for the outcome. These young people that are sitting in here today, not the income. Today I want to talk to you about the ACT strategy. Years ago, she mentioned this earlier, there was a teacher who changed my life. And when I met this teacher, I wasn't in high school. You know, I met him about 20 years ago. I wasn't in high school. I wasn't in college. When I met him, I had just been sentenced to 15 years in prison in California. And it's because of that teacher that I'm standing here in front of you today. How was he able to change my life? There were a number of different things that he did, but I narrowed it down to 3 things. And that's what I want to discuss today. It's called the ACT strategy. He asked questions, he created a connection, and he took the time. He asked questions, he created a connection, and he took the time. 3 very simple things. Today I want to leave you, I want to tell you how he used that strategy to change my life. Hopefully you leave here with ways that you can use it to touch and change the lives of the young people that you work with, or to add to what you're already doing. Because what I also know about you, educators, is many of you are already doing some of these things because you're here on a Saturday. But before I get into that, I feel it's important that I tell you a little bit more about me, about my background, and also about other educators that have had an impact on my life. This is the house that I grew up in South Central LA. It's about a 600 square foot house. At one time there were 9 of us living in that house. You best believe I was fighting for my little square footage. I was in charge of watering the grass. But this is the house I grew up in. It was in South Central LA. It was 2 blocks from where Stan Tukey Williams and Raymond Washington started the Crip Street Gang, one of the largest gangs and the most notorious gangs in LA at that time, but in the world. This is Stan Tukey Williams. He was recently executed on San Quentin's death row in 2005. And this is Raymond Washington. He was shot to death on the streets of LA some time ago. I say that because it didn't take much for me. I could walk right outside my door and these were the images that I would see. I could walk out of my door, see gang violence, drug deals, prostitution, a lot of violence. That's my father. He's in prison in this picture. This is my father right here. I don't think you needed me to tell you that. But in this picture, he was in the newspaper for escaping out of prison, out of a maximum security prison. I went to school and kids would say, hey, you know, I was watching the news last night. Was that your daddy? No, that wasn't my dad. But I say that because these images, that was my reality. When I went to school every day, that's the invisible luggage that I carried behind. That was a burden that I walked into the classroom and attempted to deal with.